Three, two, one.
Here we go!
Hi, welcome back to another new video. My name is Anisha. I'm a social therapist here in Canada. I provide virtual therapy in BC and Alberta, in British Columbia and Alberta. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 4 reasons why many immigrants self-sabotage and what to do about each one, what to do about each of the reasons. In my last video, I introduced the concept of self-sabotaging, so why immigrants are especially vulnerable to it and how fear, not laziness, is usually the root cause. And if you haven't seen that video yet, I will link it in my description and I recommend starting there. But today we are going to deep dive in the topic because after that first video, so many of you literally reached out to me and said the same thing. I know what I should be doing, but I can't make myself do it. I have read books, I have made plans, and nothing changes. I see like something is blocking, but I don't know what it is. And that invisible block, that's what exactly we are talking about here today. And trust me, I'm not making this up. There is a research-backed work by clinical psychologist Dr. Judy Ho that identifies 4 specific psychological drivers underneath self-sabotage. She calls them LIFE, L-I-F-E framework. And by end of this video, you are going to know which driver is most active for you and exactly what to do about it. But before we go into 4 drivers, I want to revisit something important from part 1 video. Self-sabotage is not about weakness. It is not a character flaw. It is your mind going what it was trained to do. That's protecting you. The problem is the protection strategies you learned growing up or even in your first year in Canada or elsewhere may no longer serve you. Every self-sabotaging behavior starts with a thought, not a feeling. A thought that happens first, usually so fast you don't even notice it. Then the feeling follows, then the behavior. So 2 people can face the exact same situation and respond completely differently. So let's think about this. If 2 immigrants get passed over for a promotion on the very same day, person 1, immigrant 1, might feel like, I knew it, I'm never taken seriously here. My accent, my background, it always counts against me. And he or she may feel shame, despair, and the behavior could be like stop trying to disengage at work, try to isolate. And person 2 might think that, oh, it's disappointing, but I'm learning what I need to learn. I'm going to ask for more feedback and try again. He or she might feel sad, but also at the same time determined. The behavior could be like book a meeting with their manager to discuss same event but completely different outcomes. What's different is the thought. So this is the foundation of cognitive behavior therapy, and it's the foundation of what we are doing today. Now let's talk about the 4 drivers. So the L in life, 4L stands for shaky self-concept. This is not the same as low self-esteem across the board. A shaky self-concept means that in certain areas of your life, your professional identity, your sense of belonging, your relationship, your sense of who you are feels unstable, inconsistent, dependent on outside feedback probably. Here's one question for you. Does how you feel in a given day, does it get impacted by how others look at you or how others respond to you? And if you said yes to this question, this driver might be likely active in your case. And I want to say this directly to my immigrant community here today, that a shaky self-concept after immigration is not a weakness. It is commonly understandable, a response to a real loss that you had. Basically, when you immigrated, you lost context back home. Your identity was held in place by your community back home. People knew you, people knew your family, your history, your capabilities, your professional reputation existed back home. Your social role was clear there. Here in Canada, you started from zero. And in that vacuum, it becomes very easy to start looking outward for confirmation for your worth. If your coworker, for example, seems impressed by you, you feel capable. And if your manager seems dismissive, you question everything. If a client does not book with you, you wonder if you are good enough. And this is exactly a shaky self-concept in action. So, and here how it drives self-sabotage. So when your sense of self depends on external validation, you become risk aversive, because trying something and failing doesn't just feel like a setback. It feels like confirmation that you are not enough. So you don't try to apply, you don't try to speak, you just wait. So what actually helps here is building what we call an internalized, stable sense of self, an identity that doesn't collapse when someone gives you a disappointing reaction. One practice I give to my clients is a daily values reflection. So every morning, just give 2 or 3 minutes to yourself. Ask yourself, what do I want to stand for today? Not what do I want to achieve? What do I want to stand for? And when your identity is anchored to your values and not to the other people's opinion, it becomes much harder to shake it. Your self-concept is hard to shake it. A second practice could be notice when you are interpreting someone else's mood as information about your worth. So someone is short with you in a meeting. Before you spiral, pause and ask, is there another explanation for this that has nothing to do with me? Probably. Usually there is, surprisingly. So the I stands for internalized belief in life framework. The internalized beliefs are the messages you observed in your childhood from your family, from your culture, from your early life experiences that are still running in the background of your mind. So for many South Asian immigrants, this message sounds like, oh, you have to be exceptional just to be considered equal, or don't draw attention to yourself, or success is survival and not joy, wanting things for yourself is selfishness, mental health is not a real problem. These are some kind of messages that we take early on. And you didn't choose these beliefs. They were installed early on in your life, often by the people you loved and the people who were trying to protect you. But here's what the research tells us. Our brain processes over 50,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are unconscious. So your brain stops paying attention to repeated patterns because they feel like these are the old information, not worth flagging. But those beliefs are still shaping your emotions and your behavior. You just can't see them. So this is why you can know something intellectually, like I am qualified for this job, for instance, and you feel that I still feel paralyzed. The belief underneath says people like me don't get jobs like that, and that belief is louder than the logic. So what helps here is a technique from Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, ACT, which is called cognitive diffusion. So instead of trying to fight the thought, you prove it wrong, which often makes it stronger, you change your relationship to the thought. And the practice is simple. When a limiting belief shows up, add this phrase in front of it, having this thought that. So instead of saying, I'm not smart enough for this, you say internally, I'm having the thought that I am not smart enough for this. And what this really does is it creates a tiny but significant distance between you and the thought. So you are no longer the thought. You are the person observing the thought. And in that small space, that is where your freedom to choose lives. The thought can still be there, but just don't have to let it drive you. And now moving on to F in life framework. F stands for fear of unknown. So I want to sit with this one for a moment, because I think it's most misunderstood drive for many immigrants specifically. So when people hear fear of the unknown, they think quad-dice timidity, but I want you to think about this differently. So you already faced the unknown enormously, I would say. You left everything that was familiar to you, your language, your food, your family, your profession, your professional network, and you moved to a country where the system, the culture, the social rules were all foreign. And that took courage that most people will never ever understand. But here is what happened. After the leap for many immigrants, the reality of Canada was harder than expected. The credential recognition, the process was brutal, the social isolation was real, the racism, the microaggressions, the starting over, it hurt, and your nervous system learned something. The unknown is dangerous. So now when another unknown appears in your life, say a new career, a business idea, or going back to school, or entering into therapy, or your nervous system raises the alarm not because you are weak, but because it remembers the unknown. Let me clarify. The goal here is not to eliminate the fear. Not to eliminate the fear of unknown. Of course, that's not realistic. The goal here is to take action alongside the fear. And here's a reframe that I offer many of my clients. I don't have to feel ready. I just have to feel willing. Readiness is a feeling. Willingness is a decision. And you can decide to take one small step. And if your fear of the unknown is keeping you from applying for a job, your if-then plan might be, if I feel I'm not ready to apply, then I will write one paragraph of cover letter, just one, and then I can stop. So you are not committing to the whole mountain. You are committing to one step, and your nervous system can usually tolerate one step at a time. So the E stands for excessive need for control. And this E, excessive need for control, often travels alongside the fear of unknown. Why? Because if you are afraid of what you can't predict, controlling everything you can feels like safety. And for many immigrants, this often shows up as needing to over-prepare before taking any actions, like over-preparing for it, struggling to delegate to ask for help, becoming rigid when things don't go as planned, or procrastination until conditions feels perfect and ready. And on the surface level, this might look like conscientiousness and high standard or responsibility, but underneath, it's often anxiety. And this excessive need for control is itself a form of avoidance. It's a way of not starting, because if you start, you lose control of the outcome. And for immigrants, the stakes feels especially high because you sacrifice too much to fail. Your family is watching, your community will have opinions, so you want a perfect condition that will never arrive. So what, however, helps here is deliberately practicing tolerance of imperfection. I sometimes call this good enough experiments. So instead of asking, am I ready for this perfectly, ask yourself, can I do good enough version of this right now? Submit the application even if the cover letter is not ready, even if it is not perfect. Show up to the event even if your English is not fluent. Start the conversation even if you don't know where the conversation is going or wherever that is going to. So let's now bring this all together. The 4 drivers of self-sabotage. L-I-F-E, life. L, a shaky sense of self that depends on others' reaction. I, the old internalized belief running silently in the background. F, a nervous system that learned the unknown is dangerous. And E, a need for control that keeps you waiting for the perfect moment to start something. And most people have more than one driver, and here's what I want you to hold. So this driver's life was developed for a reason. The reason is adaptations. They help you survive something like childhood, maybe migration, hardship, loss. So you don't need to hate them totally. So you need to understand them, because when your actions aligns with your values, self-sabotage starts to lose its grip. Not all at once, of course, gradually, but one if-then plan, if I'm having that thought statement, or morning of values reflection, one good enough experiment. That is how change actually happens. Not in a breakthrough moment, in a small, repetitive, compassionate act of choosing yourself. And before I go from here today, I want to acknowledge something. If you are an immigrant watching this, you are carrying things that many people around you cannot see. The grief of leaving home, the pressure to justify the sacrifice, the exhaustion of constantly adapting, the loneliness of building from scratch. And these are real. These are very real challenges, and they do matter. They do matter a lot. So self-sabotage for so many immigrants is not failure. It's an exhaustion. It's an exhausted nervous system trying to protect someone who has already been through so much. And you deserve support with that. Not just a YouTube video, but a real support. I offer individual therapies virtually in Canada, across British Columbia and Alberta, and I specialize in exactly these experiences of immigrations and immigrants, identity, transition, relationship, and the invisible weight of starting over. So your first step is to book a free consultation, free 15-minute consultation, and no pressure, no commitment, just a conversation, just an honest conversation. This link in the description, there's a link in the description below you can use to book. And if this video was useful, please share it. Share it to someone in your community who is stuck right now and doesn't know why. And this might be exactly what they need to hear today. And thank you for watching this video. If you like the video, feel free to like, subscribe, and leave any comments that you might have.